For the next 45 minutes, we're going to be spending our time with Predrag Rajković, also known as Peja. Peja, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How have you been doing today?
Pretty fine. Seeing some interesting sessions in the morning part.
Good. I think our session is going to be equally interesting, if not more.
Yeah.
So just for those who haven't met Peja before, a small reminder that he's an experienced professional, an agile practitioner and a coach. Peja is very active, has been working as people and product manager throughout his career, and he will actually be discussing a lot of topics relating to people and products. He will try to help us understand the difference between the product owner and the product manager, and more importantly, he will try to sketch out for us what would be an ideal product person. What would be the skills that come with this ideal product person? And I think, Peja, can we reach the ideal? Is that possible?
Well, that is something that we're going to try to see during this session. So let's keep it as a secret for the time being.
Okay. And Peja, did I understand properly that you might be having a surprise for us, for the audience, down your sleeve?
Yeah, now you're revealing everything about my session. I don't know what will be left for me to talk about it. Yeah, there will be a surprise at the end. So those of you that have patience enough to be till the end of the session with us, will have a chance to get the surprise.
Surprise! Okie dokie, Peja. So I'll be giving you the floor. So for the next 30 minutes, and then we should be having our 15 minutes questions and answer session. Everybody in the audience, do open your hearts and souls. Do go through the list of questions that you might be having for Peja and for people in the Agile community like him, who can actually help you understand some of the issues and resolve some of the challenges. So type those questions in the Match About app so Peja can dedicate his time also to that. Peja, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. I'll start sharing my screen. So just give me a second. Okay, so I hope you're seeing the presentation now. Good. Okay, so just for you in the audience that are acquainted and are following sports, especially football, so you might have been asking yourself why the hell the famous goalkeeper will be talking about the products and the product people. So yeah, well, actually it's not that Predrag Rajković, but the other one, although I sometimes have a challenge explaining to my wife that despite the headlines of in the tabloids, that it is not me who has been seen with famous models in Belgrade cafes, that's the other one. So today, it's not the goalkeeper that we're talking about the product, but the other one, that is me. Who has over 15 years of experience in product management, also experience in design thinking, Scrum and scaling Scrum, coaching, etc. Okay, enough about me. So let's jump into the topic of today's session. So what I have chosen to talk today about is, as the title says, about the product owners and some of the challenges that people who are dealing with products and the product people are facing. So when I'm working with product people, I'm facing the challenge of finding the people for the product team, and also talking to people that are also working in the same situation, are also having the same challenges. And part of the reason why it is so is that this industry, this software development industry, is pretty much gaining into a peak, and there are a lot of people and more people working in the software industry. Hence, there are less and less people available to get to the team. So this the graph that I'm showing is the unemployment rate in the US of the product managers, I can bet that the similar line is also valid for Europe and our region. So the product managers are becoming a scarce resource, so to say, or it's getting harder to get them. So led by this, I wanted to talk about what do we do with the product managers? How do we deal with the people that we need for our products? But before going into the core of today's session, I wanted to just settle one thing more, and this is the vocabulary that we are using. So maybe you have noticed that during this minute and 2 minutes that I'm talking, I have already been using the words like product owner, product manager. There is also product developer. So I think we should dedicate a minute or two also to understand what we are talking about. And for the beginning, let's start with the definition of the product owner. So Scrum Guide, Scrum Alliance give definitions, and also other different organizations give the definitions of what the product owner is. So when we look at the Scrum Guide's definition, it says the product owner is responsible for maximizing, the Scrum Guide, the maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team, but how it's done, it's up to the particular organization or the individual. So focusing on the maximizing of the value of the product team. So basically focusing on the delivery part of what is being produced. Scrum Alliance says that it is expected from the product owner to incorporate stakeholder feedback to create the highest value of the product increments in every sprint. Again, focusing on the sprint, on the development part of the product. So you can look at this as a pretty narrow definitions. However, I would like to point out something, and at this moment I will just stop sharing and switch on the whiteboard, which is behind me. Okay, so I'm hoping you're seeing me and the camera. This is what the Scrum Guide and the Scrum Alliance says about the product owner. But when we're talking about the product, as I said, a lot of functions or a lot of names appear, like product managers, product developers, and then all these functions have something in common, and this is the word product. So all these people are working on a product in one way or another. So let's look at them from the perspective of the product. And it's probably the best way to see it as from the lens of product lifetime, or the cycles or the phases in the lifetime. So when we're looking at the one product, and we have like a timeline here, let's say it's time or a phase in which the product is. And then we have certain phases in the life of the product. So we have something like, we have idea, then we have some solution that we're creating, then we have validation of the solution, introduction of the product, improvement, and finally retirement. So this is the birth of the product, and then the end of the product. On the vertical axis, we can have awareness of the product. So how much the market is aware that our products exist. And then the line of the product of the awareness would be something like this. So at the beginning, practically no one knows about the product. A few people that are working on it, but then introduction comes in, improvement, and then finally retirement. Okay, so who's doing what at this in the lifetime of the product? When you look at it like this, we can say that the product managers are actually taking everything in their pocket. So here are the product managers. Do you see this? I think product managers. So actually, they're taking care of the product throughout the life of the product. Product owners, when we have, as we have seen in the definitions of the Scrum Guide, product owner focuses more on this, the right part of the product life cycle. So working with the team, introducing it to the market, improvements, and then retirement. So product owner is here in the right part. The left part are people who are dealing with the design or the development of the product. So product design or product development people. So they are more into idea, validating idea, etc., etc. So when we look at it, so there are different functions dealing with different parts of the product lifetime, but the product managers are those that are encompassing all of this into their role. And I know that there are different definitions of the product managers depending on the industry, depending on the company, and this is why we're talking about, I want to settle the vocabulary that I'll be using throughout the presentation. So when we look at this like this, so the product manager is the function or the role or the name that is encompassing the total length of the product. And here I would like to point out to words of Melissa Perry, who put it very nicely, saying the product manager is actually the job that you do, whereas the product owner is the role that you play in a Scrum team. And this resonated very nice with me, so that's why I'm using it. So when looking at the today's session, I'll be using product manager and product owner interchangeably. I'll be also using a product person or product people as people dealing with the product. The point being is that we are talking about the people that are dealing with the product, and I'm looking at a wider perspective at the whole range of the product life cycle. Okay, settling the vocabulary, let's go back to the screen or to these slides. Okay, so what do we expect from the product person, so to say? Well, it should be able to encompass all these things that I've been talking about throughout the life cycle. So from the idea to the retirement of the product. Hence, it should have different skills, like project management skills, ability to persuade someone, negotiation skills, product design skills, as we have seen at the beginning of the product and later on in the improvement part, of course, business view, helicopter view ability, understand the finance, etc., etc. I don't want to list here because this list is not comprehensive anyway. So it's just some of the skills that should be that the product manager should have. In addition to skills, there are also some personal characteristics that the product manager should have. So like curiosity, they should be humble, assertive communication, visionary, creative, etc., etc. So when we're looking at this, a lot of things, is there a lot of expectation from someone being a product manager? So in a word, what we need is a Superman. So we need someone who can do everything, who knows the product very well, who knows customers, who knows business, someone who can do all these things at parallel. So is this really something that is feasible? Is this something that we can find? Well, hardly, of course. Is there a person who can have all these characteristics that we have seen? If yes, can someone have certain characteristics in a larger extent than some others in the smaller extent? What is the maximum where someone can get in these all characteristics? If there is a maximum, is there a minimum? And how to find out where is this person in this maximum minimum part? And then you can also ask, but why are we talking about this actually? Well, the reason why we're talking about all these and why we have these dilemmas is actually that we have expectations on one side, so we need a Superman to do everything. On the other side, we have a normal, ordinary guy like you and me doing his job the best he can. And obviously, there is some gap that should be bridged between the expectations and the thing that we get in the real life. So how to approach it? First of all, as we have seen, there are a lot of skills that are expected from a product manager to have. So with all these skills, it's hard to see wood for the tree, and then we have to sort them out somehow. So what I have proposed here is to see it from the perspective of 3 fields which the product manager should cover. One is the product management, or the product management techniques that are helping him dealing the product management job well. Second would be process understanding. So by process, I mean here the understanding of the frameworks that are being used in more directly the Scrum or the Kanban, depending on what the team with which the product is working is doing their job, and then the domain knowledge. So the understanding of the product that the person is working on, knowing the customers, their habits, their behavior, knowing also the competition landscape, the environment in which the product is working, the history of the product, etc., etc. So these 3 fields are something that a person should cover. So, okay, but where do we start? How do we find out where our product person is in this coordinating system? I have created a matrix that is showing the expectations from a person depending on their seniority. So in the column lines, in the vertical lines, there are seniorities marked A, B, C, D as the seniority levels of the person involved. So the A being the most junior person, B a little bit senior, C more senior, etc., etc. The idea behind it is that each next level encompasses the previous level and adds something more, meaning that someone who is at the level of B knows everything that person at the level of A knows, and then even more something. So this is how it functions. In the rows, in the horizontal lines, we have, let's call them the areas where the expectations lie. So, for instance, we're looking here at how the person deals with the processes, and then we have examples like Scrum roles, ceremonies, and artifacts. So, how skilled the person is in these things, understanding the roles of the Scrum, ceremonies, etc., etc. Then user stories, acceptance criteria, and so on and so forth. So this matrix goes on for all these 3 fields that I've been mentioning previously. Okay, so we have a system, we have a matrix, we have some expectations from the product managers. So what do we do next? Next, we map where the particular person is. So we say these green fields are actually expectations. So we expect from someone, this particular example, we expect that it's for the whatever product development techniques, understanding of the product development techniques, that it's on the level of D, and this is our expectations. But in this particular case, the person involved is at the level of B. So the red fields mark where the person is. So this is something that is happening on the mutual meeting between the person involved and their people manager, trying to map this particular person on this matrix. With this, we understand where the gaps are. So these little bridges show the gaps for this person. And what we should do next is prioritizing these gaps. So obviously not all these things where the gaps exist are equally important to the company at this point of time, or to this person at this point of time. So the next thing is to prioritize these gaps. And this is something that is the basis for us to start working with on improving this person or developing this person. So by now we have understood what are the expectations from the person and where the person is. Okay, so we have seen there is no Superman. Mr. Perfect is not there, so what should we do? Act or despair? So I always choose act instead of despair. We have understood where are the gaps, so let's try to handle them. So a few things that we can do to support this person in their development. But first, before jumping into supporting the person in the development, we should create a team. So what do I mean by that? By definition of Scrum, the Scrum team, including the product owner, Scrum Master, and also the developers, designers, etc., all other people that are involved in creating the product, should be collocated and sit together. This, however, creates some challenges from the perspective of the product owners. So it disables them or makes harder for them to share the knowledge between the product owners. It also there is seen a lack of information and the points where this particular product owner can share their dilemma and debate about the things on how to do things with other people that are also working with the product. Also, this can create silos between the teams, especially if we don't have a feature teams, but have, for instance, component teams or platform teams. So this might be detrimental for the product itself. So how do we deal with this? First, we create mutual ceremonies. So meetings where product people could have chance to share their knowledge, their dilemmas and ideas between themselves. It can be community of practice meetings, dailies, team buildings, different forms of these ceremonies where the product people would be involved. Second, we create a mutual space. So place where these people could sit together and have share the same space so that they could share the ideas that they have. And thirdly, enable them, and connected with a mutual space is enable them mutual time so that they have time to sit and discuss together. So yes, where does this bring us? Where does this bring us is better information flow among the products, improve knowledge sharing, faster onboarding, which is pretty important for new members, for teams that are being created, and also a better visibility of the product. On the other hand, there are some, so to say, downsides of this, and this is that it can cause a feel of disconnection between the rest of the Scrum team and the product owners, because the product owners also have somewhere else to spend their time, not exclusively with the Scrum team. Also, sometimes the rest of the Scrum might find that, that product owner now have someone else also to care about instead of them. But here I would say that there is no reason for sort of a jealousy or demand for exclusivity, because, as in life, every one of us has a business life, but also has a family life. Inside a family life also has some hobbies that you dedicate some time to. So, this is not something exclusively, and I'm not saying that the product owners shouldn't be collocated with the team and shouldn't sit anyhow with the team. I'm saying that they should have time when they're sitting with the other people working on a product. Okay, now we have created the team out of the individuals, out of the people that are of different skills, different background, different knowledge, and then we are jumping into each particular person and seeing how we can support them in their development as the product managers. speeding up the product management knowledge. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that actually all these things that are necessary for a product to be developed, maintained, and finally retired, there are some techniques that people can use in order to do this successfully. So if a person is missing some parts of it, what we can do is create an internal course inside a company, which can be done with an in-house coach or external coach, hired coach. We can do external course, of course, send this person to external course to fill up the gaps. And also we can do a shadowing, so coupling the less experienced with more experienced product people in order that those less experienced learn how the things are done from the more experienced people. So these are the formats that we can use to improve these people. But what would be the content of it? What should we be dealing with? So what should be inside? So there are quite a number of things in this field, and of course they could be used depending on those gaps that we have seen of the particular people. So when we're looking at the product management introduction, so yeah, what should be there? Well, introduction to product management in general. So who are the people doing it? What's the connection between the product owner and the product management? What's the meaning of the product life cycle? What are the phases? Then, for instance, what is the design thinking and the main concepts? What is the meaning of the problem to be solved? How to reach the problem to be solved? What does that mean to have a product management mindset? So this is something that, like introduction, as I said, so understanding the basic concepts. Business perspective. So what does that mean? Well, understanding, how to create a business case. What is the net present value? What's the business model canvas? So these kind of things that introduce also the business perspective of the product. Product strategy, how to create a strategy, how to define the vision. What are the steps to it? What are the elements of the strategy? Product discovery, product delivery, etc., etc. Managing product portfolio. So what matrix do we use depending on the product phase in the life cycle? Stakeholder communication, how to manage stakeholders, how to communicate to them properly, etc., etc. So these are the things that should be inside this part of the improvement of the person. So with this, we have seen the fields or the steps with which we can improve the product management knowledge of a particular person. Okay, next thing, speeding up the process understanding. So our person that we're dealing with has some gaps in the process understanding, into working in a Scrum, for instance. So how can we improve it? Well, there are certification courses. We can send people to certification courses. Then we have non-certification courses. They have some advantages. They're generally more detailed. They're certification courses. They can dedicate more time to certain aspects, and sometimes they are focused on the practical sides of the process itself. We can have internal education in the company, but also combining a product person with an experienced Scrum Master could be beneficial for this product person. What should we be talking about here? Well, first understanding Agile and Agility, Agile Manifesto, values, what is the Agile mindset, but then jump into the frameworks and techniques that the person will be using, so understanding them. Finally, we have the domain knowledge. So this is the knowledge the person has about the particular product that he or she is working on. So here I have two things. One is a bootcamp, so intended for the persons that are starting in the company. So it should speed them up into understanding where they are, what they will be doing with, what's the product they're working on, in this case, it's 5 days boot camp. So it can be Monday to Friday, but it can be any other days. So, and it should happen as soon as the person has joined the company. I would propose not to be the first day when it comes to work. It can be overwhelming, and there are also different activities during the starting in a company, like setting up their space, getting to know people, etc. But it should be as soon as possible, because with this we are actually putting this person in a position that it can start working as soon as possible on their activities. This is beneficial both for this person, because it starts working on the things fast. It starts getting the feedback from the rest of the people, which helps her define where it should go, and where are the holes in the understanding of the product. From the perspective of the company, it is of course beneficial because the person is starting working fully as soon as possible. So what should be the topics along these 5 days? So firstly, understanding the role of the person, way of work, main challenges in work, high-level products of the company, processes, values, etc., etc. Then next day, understanding the product. So in the first day, they get the high-level picture where they are. On the second day, they get a picture about the product they will be working on. So related teams, related products, who do they depend on, who depends on them, etc., etc. Then next day, the architecture, the technical part. So what's behind under the hub, so to say? What's behind this product? So what's the architecture? What are the challenges, technical challenges? Is there a lot of technical depth? What's the situation with bugs? So these are all the things that help product person define where the area in which they work. Then product vision and future, and the future of the product. So where do we head with this product? What do we do with it? Who is it intended for? What's the outcomes that we want to achieve with it? Finally, on the 5th day, the product environment. So what are the competitors, main events, resources, users and stakeholders, etc., etc. So the idea is not that this person spends the whole day with those that can help them, but rather that they have like a 2-hour session, like a sort of a knowledge transfer from these in the column who, and then this person that is in the boot camp spending the most of the day reading materials or looking at the product, and then at the end of the day having another shorter session with these people in the who for checking out the understanding, having an opportunity to ask questions that might have arisen during the day, so that by the end of the day, our bootcamp attendee is very well acquainted with topics that it will be working on, and it has been listening and reading about throughout the day. Another way how to speed up the domain knowledge is the mentoring process. In this situation, we have mentors and we have mentees. Mentors are there to support mentees in getting the domain knowledge. So these are persons in the company that know the most about the product itself. So what would be the goals, or what should the mentee do at the end of be capable of at the end of the mentoring program. So they should have concrete knowledge on the product. They should be able to implement it, and of course, they should be able to disseminate it further on, because the idea is that we build future mentors inside our company, out of the people that we have. So how would this program look like? Just to point out what this program is not. So it's not the replacement for the management. So mentor is not the manager to this person. So it's someone who's speeding up, who's helping them build their knowledge, but it's not someone who is giving them operational tasks. The mentoring is not also the employee assistance program. So for the personal challenges that a person could have, it's not dealing with day-to-day activities. It's not fixing operational issues. So as I said, the main goal is to improve the knowledge of the mentee. How it should look like. So at the beginning, there is an initial meeting between the mentor and mentee. And how this whole program will look like will depend a lot on the mentee itself, but also on the problems that should be solved during this program. So at the beginning, at the initial meeting, the mentee and the mentor should sit down. If they have not been acquainted before, they should get to know each other, and also understand where the gaps are for this particular mentee and how they should bridge them. Also, they should agree on the frequency of the future meetings. So then in the next meetings, which might be a bi-weekly or 3-weekly sessions, they should meet up again and discuss particular issues that they have agreed upon on the first meeting. In between, mentor should be giving assignments to mentee, so that mentee does something in this 2 weeks or 3 weeks, some assignment, send it to the mentor, and then on this session, next session, mentor goes through the assignment with mentee, pointing out where are the rooms for improvement, and pointing out, of course, the ways how to improve these gaps. This goes on. It can last for a month or up to 3 months, depending, as I said, on the particular mentee and the things that they agree they should be dealing with. So what would be some of the topics for the product persons? Understanding the business context of the product, main market players, main events, history of the product, vision, roadmap, etc., etc. So these could be the topics. Of course, it is expected from the mentee to be active, to come up with the topics that he or she believes that should be covered through the mentoring process. So anything connected with the product can be a topic in this program. Assignments. What would be assignments? What would they look like? Well, it could be like perform analysis of this and that competitor, or give proposal of the biggest challenges for the product you're working on, or give on your view on prioritization of the future things that should be done. So through these assignments, mentors should understand better where are the gaps for this person and help them overcome them. Finally, in the mentoring process, of course, we need to have the fields of expertise, mentors for these fields, and finally, mentees for this particular mentor. Okay, so with this, we have gone through the things that can be done to speed up the development of a particular product. So first, we create a team. Then these other are not necessarily in this order, so it can be any order depending on where the biggest gap is or where the most important gap is. But then speeding up the management knowledge, product management knowledge, speeding up the process understanding, speeding up the domain knowledge. But here's one thing that I want to point out here. With all this should look just as a a framework. So this is like some toolbox that can help both the people leading product people and also the product people themselves how to improve or how to strengthen their expertise. But what we should have in mind is that there are some leading principles of a personal development. And I think there are two things. First, it's up to you to choose will you improve or not. Meaning that a particular person, particular product manager, product owner should decide if they want to improve or not. Second, if you choose to improve, it's up to you to put an effort to it. What I want to say here is this framework that I have shown previously won't work if the person that should be developed is passive. So these persons should have their internal pushers, so to say, to improve. They should be the ones who are responsible for their development. And this is what I want to say. So, push, go for it. You have the tools, you have the people that could support it, but you have to do your homework, so to say. You have to do your job. You have to push yourself further on. Okay, so let's try to wrap things up. When we're looking at the region in which we are working, it's hard to find a person that has the seniority that we would want to have for our products. But instead of looking for a Mr. Perfect or the Superman, which means actually wasting time and postponing that our product is getting the attention that they need, is better to have a person that are dedicated, that want to work on the products, and then develop those things that are missing or that can be better throughout this program or this framework. Of course,
just because this is now like the super most important thing, the wrap up, please turn yourself towards the camera. We cannot hear you when you're looking at the whiteboard. Sorry. I thought that I no, we just really want to hear, like this 1 minute is crucial, so we want to be able to hear it properly.
Okay, thank you. As it's hard to find the ideal person, we shouldn't be spending time on looking for one. Rather, we should be doing with the people that we have, and then help them develop themselves. This, of course, takes money and this takes time. But this is sort of an investment that you should be doing, because with this, you are getting the person who is engaged and ready to work with your product and to give their best to develop the product themselves. So that would be a wrap up. And now for all of you that are still here with us, here is the surprise. So anyone contacting me via LinkedIn or via Gmail will get this infographics that summarizes all these things that we have been talking throughout this session. So you can contact me. I'll see also if probably we can put it on the board in the application, in the Match About application. But if you want also to discuss more further on, don't hesitate to contact me. Here are the contact details, and you will also get this infographics.
Peja, this is such a wonderful surprise. Thank you so much. So, did I understand properly? Everyone who will contact you via your LinkedIn, and you can be found via Predrag Rajković, or directly on your Gmail, predrag.rajković@gmail.com, will get this infographic which summarizes the key points, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is awesome. This is awesome. Peja, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a souvenir, you know, for to remember this session by. So.
This is awesome. Peja, we have a question or questions for you in our app. So I will kindly ask you for a few more minutes of your attention.
Of course.
And before, or no, I have a question for you, but I will leave it for after. It's not a tricky one, it's a nice one. But anyways, let's start with a question from Igor Man, and we have sort of run out of time, so I will ask you to be really succinct and to the point.
Okay.
We have a question from Igor Manic saying, what would be the best career path for a former developer to become a good product manager, or for a salesperson, or for any role in that area?
Yeah, well, I would say it would be pretty simple. So the most important thing is that you feel the sort of need, the urge to deal with the product itself. So and you should ask yourself whether you are ready to give up the coding. Meaning, when you in the future as a product manager, you start working with the developers, are you ready not to tell them how to do things? Because the most important thing for the product managers is to say what to do, not how to do it. And this is a pretty important thing for the people switching from development part to the product manager. And then get to know the basics and start experimenting with your thoughts around the products. Also, would be good if you have already a product person in your environment to have sort of a friendly over the beer chats, like, you know, what do you think about this and that, and start pushing yourself into this direction.
Awesome, thanks Peja. And we have a question from Nevena Stojković, who is wondering if you could share some techniques which proved to be productive in your experience in building a good relationship with Scrum Master.
Yeah. That's sort of a tricky one, because it comes pretty much to the very specific case that you're talking about. So every one of us is, specific person, you know, with their characteristics and their way of behaving. So it's hard to say, you know, this is a technique that works best, because, you know, it's really up to you as a product person and the Scrum Master as a person, you know, how to click together. What I would suggest to start with is, I mean, it's really not, it will not come as a breakthrough, but, for me, the most important thing is communication. So to start, you know, open and sincere communication between these two persons, you know. As I mentioned, sit over the beer or the coffee or whatever you're up to your liking.
Beverage of choice, right?
Beverage of choice, exactly. And then start discussing. And I would suggest start with the most painful things. It's not it won't be the best conversation you ever had with someone. It might probably rank among the worst, probably, but it brings sort of a catharsis between those two people, and then start from there. So, but it is necessary. There are problems. There is no way to address them but to start communicating openly.
Great. Thanks, Peja. Thanks for giving this very good answer. I think actually, if I manage to follow properly, it can be applicable to building most of the relationships, like in professional life, but also personal life. Good.
Yeah. The funny thing is we keep to forget these basic things, you know, and you know, sometimes we like that things just change, you know, but they won't. I mean, so it's up to us to start working on them.
Indeed. You told me that you are a huge fan of the Star Wars, and that Mandalorian was one of your favorite shows on Netflix.
Recently, so to say.
Recent one, that's right. My favorite show, not on Netflix, it's like way before Netflix, was Smogovci. I don't think that anybody in the audience could be remembering that, but okay.
I do anyway.
Awesome, good. Going back to the Star Wars and Mandalorian universe, who of the characters would you cast as your ideal product person?
Wow, this is a sneaky one. I didn't have a chance to think about it. Okay, do I have another question? So I give you time to think about it.
Okay, since you told me you're a Red Star fan, I'm going to let you off the hook now, but you have to get in touch later and tell me.
Okay,
Actually,
no problem.
you know what you can do, and this would be super awesome of you. You could give it some thought, use the event wall on our app, so go to the match about the event wall, and give us your answer there. I think this universe here in the audience is populated with huge fans of Star Wars.
Yeah, I can bet on it.
So let's see. And if it proves to be super interesting, we might even create a poll later to see how it works. Peja, thank you so much for being with us today, for participating in the Regional Scrum Gathering, for sharing your thoughts and your views, and for sharing the infographic to the people who will make the first step from their side, and I strongly encourage you to do that. So Peja, we are waiting for your input in the event wall. I'm going to set a timer to 20 minutes, so be there or be square.